Kempire is brought to you by. We just had another successful Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era live experience in Atlanta, and we are headed to Washington, D.C. on August 22nd. Every single show is so uniquely different. Ask anyone that's been to the Philly show or the Atlanta show or the next Washington, D.C. show. Get your tickets today for our night of hot topics, tea being spilled, me and you, and for so much more. More information will be available in the description on our next show date, which will be coming up August 22nd. And then our last summer tour date will be here in New York City on September 12th at the Green Room 42. That show not only will have a meet and greet available, will also have a live stream option. So no matter where you are in the world, you will be able to be a part of the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era live show in New York City on September 12th. More information on both shows will be available in the description. I'll see you all very soon. You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. So it's been a while since we've done a weekend update, and I thought that this would be a perfect time to sort of gather some of the hot topics that we had this week and give you an update in regards to some of the stories that we covered, from Wendy Williams to the Kirk and Rasheeda children issue that's been going on, like real criminal issue that's been going on. This whole conversation about Katie from Real Housewives of Orange County. There's been a lot. Portia and the lien that's on, the attorney's lien that's on her home. There's a lot to cover, and we're going to talk about it all exclusively here on the Kempire podcast. So if you haven't subscribed and you're listening to this maybe on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Apple Podcast version or the Spotify version, because sometimes I won't upload it to YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed there. And while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star review. Let me first start off with a news story, and then we'll get into some of the flashbacks from the week. And we recapped Real Housewives of Orange County this week. I told you I haven't really loved the current season, but I also revealed to you this week some of the Katie stuff. And Katie, I found out this week that she blocked me. Again, I don't care, but I do find it to be interesting because I've never had an interaction with this woman at all. But she probably doesn't like the fact that I'm not joining the sector of people that are so pro Katie. However, you probably have seen, if you've been watching my recaps from last season when Katie was first introduced to us, and I found out that story about the road rage incident, it really twisted my perspective on Katie. 'Cause I was like, But I came into her second season with an open mind. I was like, all right, let's start fresh. That was in the past, but only for us in this season to have blogger after blogger, podcaster after podcaster reveal more of the same stuff about Katie. And I know a lot of people want to paint the narrative that, oh, look at these white women in Orange County. They can't see it for this Asian woman. And I'm not going to say that might not play a part, because we've seen how that's played a part in other cities and on other franchises. However, I'm noticing a pattern with Katie that we have to pay attention to, especially when this pattern isn't just a woman that's talking to bloggers. We know all of the housewives on some level, shape, or form has worked with podcasters and bloggers and things like that. But we started off last season with hearing about this other story where Katie is accused by this man that she had the road rage incident with of lying, like a dangerous lie. And now we're starting to see a pattern of behavior and Katie be caught in multiple lies. And I know a lot of the social media users are, because they hate Emily, they hate Gina, they hate Heather, they hate Tamara. And you have reasons. I understand why you don't like them. This is why I hate the whole gang mentality or the team mentality. Because when you're the team mentality, you feel in your brain and your being that you can't divert from that and be like, well, in this particular situation, I don't like what you did here. That's why I don't like that whole team anything or stand culture that we find in pop culture. And I see that now with the whole Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj and who was on the cover of Vogue first. You guys are so ridiculous when it comes to that. When I say you guys, I'm not talking about our community. Our community is pretty like-minded, like myself. What I don't understand, and I'm going to say this here, and I won't be done with it, when it comes to the Cardi B and Nicki Minaj of it all, First of all, aren't they tired of this battle? And when I say they, I'm not even just talking about Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. I'm talking about the Barb's versus Barty gang. Aren't you guys tired? Aren't you guys also tired about fighting over accolades that you don't even have in your own life? I'm sort of like, y'all are battling over these women's accolades. Both of them were on the cover of Vogue. What have you done in your life? I'll wait. But okay. And some of you have done some amazing things, but you're not the ones arguing on social media over someone else's accomplishments, on whether or not who was on the cover of Vogue first. It's a song. For all we know, she could have said something outlandish that wasn't even true, but it's called creative license. It's a song. It's not that deep. But anyway, go off. I say all that to say there's this same sort of mentality now with the whole Katie of all. First of all, y'all don't know Katie from a can of paint. She is new to all of us, okay? But I will say none of these housewives are innocent when it comes to plotting behind the scenes, working with bloggers. However, they haven't been caught out there the way that Katie has been caught out there, which says to me either they're a lot better at talking to the bloggers or they don't do it at the same level or do it, for lack of a better word, less than smart way of doing it. But I don't think it's that, y'all, because there are so many housewives that could be caught out there with bloggers, and some have been caught out there with bloggers. I think it's because there's something ain't right with Katie. There's something that's not right with Katie. In our last recap, we talked about Kiki Monique coming out and talking about it. But remember, Kiki wasn't the first blogger that was mentioned during the season. The Bravo babe was mentioned at the top of the season. Again, her talking to bloggers. Now, another blogger on TikTok is talking about Katie. I'm going to play the audio for you guys because I thought this was interesting. And it doesn't matter how you feel about these bloggers to me, is because I know everyone has their favorite whoever, or they don't like certain bloggers for whatever reason. But what I wanted to point out, I posted this on X saying, y'all aren't noticing a pattern with Katie, ? I know y'all hate the cast, but we can't ignore an alarming pattern with her. I said what I said. So let me play this for you.
We have to talk about Orange County really quickly. I'm about to go and take a shower and go get microneedling with PRP. But this situation that we're seeing right now with it coming to light, all of these deep, dark things that Katie was doing are coming to light. It's coming to the surface. So this situation with her talking to Kiki Monique about allegedly Gretchen telling Katie that Tamara put something in her drink to get her naked wasted. This is 100% true. Katie told me that.
And pause. You guys told me about that whole naked wasted incident. That was bad enough. To add the roofie element to it, I'm like, well, maybe she misconstrued what was said to her, but Gretchen is denying ever saying any of these things to Katie. And I don't know Gretchen's history of telling the truth or not telling the truth. But again, we're seeing a pattern with Katie. But again, I'm not making excuses for naked wasted, because when you guys originally told me about naked waste, that's like, that sounds dangerous, like dangerous behavior. And I've said this before. Please understand, this is not me being pro Tamara, because I think Tamara is just as bad, if not worse, than Katie.
Same thing. After she got back from Ireland with her family, we went to Restoration Hardware, we had lunch, and this was like one of the first things that she told me, and I was like...
Mind you, this is Katie hanging out again with her blogger friends. Another one. This is now what, number 4?
I just felt like very uncomfortable. She said that it was her and Matt, Gretchen and Slade, Jen and Ryan. They were sitting at Mastro's at the bar, and Gretchen told her that all those years ago, 17 years ago, that Tamara put something in her drink, and she went to the hospital the next day and she tested positive. And I was like, what? And
do you guys think that Katie is going to show up to the reunion? She doesn't go to the cast trip. I just have a feeling she might not even show up to the reunion, because she's going to be bombarded with all of this information. And you already know, and again, this is why I say none of these women are innocent when it comes to talking to bloggers, but you also digging up information, you know they're going to be coming with the receipts.
Let me just tell you I actually know Tamara's son, like back 100 years ago before I was married.
Sidebar, we have to also keep in mind Kiki Monique is a Bravo employee. Well, she's a Radio Andy employee. So you already know Andy's going to protect his people.
We were friends, and he was always a perfect gentleman. There was a situation in time where my friend was like dating one of his friends, and we all went out and like we had drinks and stuff, and we went back to his house and hung out, and like my friend and his friend were like, you know, hooking.
Is this the MAGA son, y'all? Give me the cliff notes in the comments section. This is the MAGA son she's referring to?
Up or whatever. And he and I just laid there and watched a movie in his room, and he was a perfect gentleman. He was perfect gentleman. And he always was, and he always has been, and he's a really nice person to me, and he's a good dad, and he's just like not down with like the TV stuff. But I'm just gonna leave that alone, okay? But he would never do that, and Tamara would never do that. So Katie told me that, and I was like, what? And then in my head, I knew that we had seen reports that Tamara left the film, when they were in New Orleans. And I thought, and I texted my friends this, and I said, I think that's why Tamara left. Because if someone who I'm working with, like, is accusing me of something like that, that's, like, so big. And that's what kind of...
I have to say, after listening to her mention that, I kind of thought to myself, I was like, well, you know what? That would be given motivation not to want to continue to film with this group, and especially what Tamara was alleging she was feeling towards the whole being there a few weeks before with Teddy. I didn't really think about that, but Tamara loves to sit on this information, and all of a sudden she wants to drop it like a producer in a scene.
Confuses me as why Tamara and Katie are okay. Like,
yeah, that part doesn't make sense to me. How are Tamara and Katie okay now? Because they're cut from the same cloth?
Because Katie had made it seem like Tamara forgives her or she's okay with her. But I would never forgive someone for that. And I'm not going to say all the horrible things that Katie has said to me about her cast, but that's what makes her so different, okay? That's what makes it so different than like, oh, just talking to bloggers about like what's going on, or I don't like her, like she's a bitch. No, the things that she says are dark and they're dangerous.
Mind you, she's not telling us half of what Katie told her. And I believe, because again, this is the fourth or fifth blogger that Katie reportedly has talked to. It can't be everyone's just turning on Katie for clout. Really?
That is exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't know exactly if that situation was going to come out this season, so I'm not going to publicly say anything. But now that it's out there, that's true. And those are the dark, disturbing types of things that she says, that she would say to me, like sitting at lunch in a crowded restaurant in Newport Beach. And it's scary. Like, she's not what you see on TV.
So that was from, hold on, this is from a...
She's not at all. So, do you guys...
The Bravo Mom on TikTok. The Bravo Mom on TikTok. You know, I like to cite my sources, and the Bravo Babe reshared this on X. So I randomly saw it pop up, and I said, let me listen to this on my walk. And I was like, not another blogger calling Katie out. So I didn't expect to talk about that. Katie, I really don't think Katie will be coming back for another season. You literally heard Dorinda Medley say the same thing when Kiki Monique was weighing in on the latest Katie drama, because Katie shaded Kiki Monique in her Page 6 virtuality interview, basically trying to make it seem like Kiki just wanted to be friends with her for clout. Okay. That seems to be the go-to whenever anyone in these spaces want to discredit a blogger or content creator. You want to do this for clout. Off of you, Katie? Really? So it looks like Simon Gobadia was playing chess while Portia Williams was playing checkers, because the $7 million home that she garnered in their divorce now has a 6-figure tax lien on it from his divorce attorneys. But is that the only lien that will be put on this home? So we've talked a lot about Portia Williams during our last Kempire After Dark live experience. And I kept on telling you, I felt like, wow, we just did a recap. What we're doing here on the channel, we're recapping and revisiting season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I find it so interesting when you watch season 6 versus season 16. And Portia was going through a divorce with Cordell in season 6. And in season 16, she's going through a divorce with Simon Gobadia. And one of the things that stood out to me was like, okay, now I see why Portia made sure when she did this prenuptial agreement that she got spousal support, that she got her name on this home. She learned from what she didn't get in that divorce from Cordell Stewart. However, she doesn't realize that Simon Gobadia has been scamming since the 80s.
Do you want me to bring the receipts? Do I need to bring the receipts,
No.
baby girl? Because I got receipts.
A lot of you speculated that Portia's not going to see a red cent from this prenuptial agreement where she was awarded $40,000 a month. She was given the $7 million mansion that she wanted to film in all season. She's able to stay in there for a couple of years. If she doesn't decide to refinance or sell the home, she has to give 50% of the equity in the sale to Simon. A lot of us speculated, is there any equity in the $7 million home? We don't know. I don't know if Portia even knows. However, let's get into this. And the other part of this that has to be told, and this might be the motivation behind Portia selling her Duluth home. Because remember, she had that home after she got the divorce from Cordell. She ended up with this Duluth home. That's where she lived for a long time before moving in with Simon. But she ended up giving the Duluth home to her mother, Miss Diane. I don't know what happened to Miss Diane's home that we see in season 6. Maybe she sold it. Who knows? So she's now selling the Duluth home for $1.8 million, $1.85 million. So I saw this. Apparently, they put this on the market like over 30 days ago. It's a beautiful home, and $1.8 million is nice. But where's her mother going to go? Maybe live with her in the $7 million home because maybe it's better when it comes to maintaining the $7 million home and not also maintaining this other home that she has. Because I don't know what Miss Diane does for a living. I don't know if Portia's taking care of her. I don't know. But a lot of people speculate maybe that's the motivation behind Portia selling the Duluth home. So that's important to note because in Us Weekly's exclusive, they're reporting that Simon has not paid his divorce attorneys. And is it because he doesn't have the money? I don't know if I believe that. I believe he's strategically not paying his debts because he's been deported since he was detained by ICE and then released, several weeks ago now. I think this is just the beginning of multiple debts that he owes here in the States, and they're just going to use the home as a way to get that debt. Simon, again, is not new to this when it comes to allegedly scamming. I don't even know if I have to say allegedly, but we will, just in case. So Portia Williams' ex-husband, Simon Gobadia, has been accused of failing to pay up on a 6-figure debt owed to his divorce lawyer, Us Weekly exclusively can report. Who sent this story to them? Simon, probably. Because remember, one of his first exclusive interviews, he did an interview with Page Six. No, I think one of his first outlets that he reached out to or sent a statement to was Us Weekly. So they said on June 10th, so we're just finding out about this. On June 10th, Gobadia's divorce lawyer, Anaima Ferry, filed an attorney's lien against his 5-bedroom, 8-bathroom, 15,284 square foot Georgia home worth an estimated $7.3 million. Williams currently lives in the home after being awarded possession in the divorce. Mind you, this was a home that he had before they were married. But in her prenuptial agreement, she wanted that included. And since then, Simon has done multiple interviews claiming that he was blindsided, that he felt like she preyed on him. And all of us are like, woo, Simon, you're not innocent here. So the lien said that Gobadia owed $205,884.25 for services provided on his divorce from Williams. The RHOA star filed for divorce, as you know, back in February of 2024 after 15 months of marriage. She asked the court to enforce the terms of the prenuptial agreement. Gobadia demanded that the prenup not be enforced due to Williams making alleged misrepresentations during the negotiations. Specifically, he said that she intended to be a stay-at-home mom and had no plans to return to reality television. But when she announced her return, they were still good. I mean, they weren't good for a long time, but they were supposedly still good. So I find it hard to believe that he had no idea that Portia was having conversations with Bravo and NBC Universal for the major deal that she ends up getting. So they continue. They said that Williams failed to disclose that she would return to her employment on The Real Housewives of Atlanta as a cast member, Gobadia argued. Instead of disclosing this material fact, the wife made it very clear to Gobadia and the public that she was leaving the television show and not returning. A couple of weeks after filing for divorce, Williams asked for a temporary exclusive use of the home as she shared with Gobadia. The court granted her request, and Williams has been there ever since. But as you know, by the time they granted this, she had wrapped filming for the show. They filmed like last couple of pickup scenes towards the end of the season, but that was about it. As us previously reported, the divorce was finalized in court on June 11th. So hold on, wait a minute. So this was filed. This is an important detail. This is why I'm very suspicious. This was filed on June 10th. Filed an attorney's lien against his 5-bedroom home. That was June 10th. The divorce was finalized on June 11th. This again leads me to believe that Simon is using this as a strategic move. As you know, Gobadia has been deported to Nigeria, even though he's not there, he's in Dubai, for immigration issues days before the hearing. The judge sided with Williams and ordered the prenup to be enforced because Simon was saying, oh, I was bamboozled, I was in love, I was blindsided, blah, blah, blah. Sir, but you still, according to Portia, the initial wedding that you guys were supposed to have was put on hold because you were not forthright with your financials. And that's why you couldn't come to terms on the prenuptial agreement. So the judge sided with Portia, as I mentioned before. The court finds that the prenuptial agreement between the parties contains all essential elements of an enforceable contract, the order read. Further, the order read, the court finds that Williams has been a reality TV celebrity for years, which was well known to husband at the time of negotiating the prenuptial agreement, and the Gobadia nevertheless married wife with this knowledge. And at no time, yes, we saw Portia quitting her jobs, but at no time did Portia make an announcement, I'm leaving reality television and I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Maybe she said that to him in bedroom talk, but she never really publicly made that statement. And don't forget, she also did Portia's Family of Lies after this. And then she also did Ultimate Girls Trip. All of this was 2 shows in between during their short stint as a couple. So we should keep that in mind. The judge added that the court does not find merit in Gobadia's argument that Williams' desire to return to reality television or employment in the future constitutes a non-disclosure of material fact and misrepresentation, as these terms are not mentioned whatsoever in the parties' prenuptial agreement. At the hearing, Gobadia claimed his company, SimCall, value went from $296 million to nothing. Really?
That is funny.
After he was detained by ICE. So you're telling me, master businessman, you are detained by ICE and your business completely falls apart? That says to me you're not that smart. But again, scammer vibes when it comes to Simon. I honestly, I don't believe him making this statement to the court, but this is just another sign and symptom of shaky behavior from Simon, which probably gave alerts to Portia. However, Portia knew a lot of this stuff before she even married the man, and she decided to marry the man anyway. So I don't feel sorry for either one of these people. Please understand. According to court documents, they says his company, SimCall value, went from $296 million to nothing after that he was detained by ICE. The court finds that Gobadia's testimony is inconsistent and lacks credibility. especially given Gobadia's testimony that prior to the ICE detention, he resided outside the U.S. for more than one half of the year and was able to successfully run and operate the company internationally, the judge wrote. Simon was caught out there lying in the court. The judge said that Gobadia's testimony that almost $297 million in business value vanished entirely over the course of a few months without recourse or recovery strains credibility. It's a nice way of saying the court does not believe him. It also makes me wonder, did he provide receipts on that? And if he did, that's interesting that you can provide receipts that you lost $297 million. This man is shaky. Shaky. Per the prenuptial agreement, Gobadia will pay Williams, well, we'll see if that will even happen, $40,000 a month in spousal support for 14 months. In addition, Williams was awarded the home, but will have to pay her ex 50% of the equity. We don't know what equity is even there. Please understand, if he's talking about, $297 million when disappeared when he went to ICE, says to me, there might not be equity in the home. I don't know what Portia knows in regards to what the equity and the value of the home actually is. I'm sure she probably could get that information now because she probably is considering refinancing, but she has to give him 50% equity in that. But now with this lien, the equity goes down because this is money that's owed until he pays it. Williams will have 36 months to refinance the mortgage to remove Gobadia's name or sell the home. The deal also awarded Williams a 2021 Rolls-Royce and all other cars in her name. Gobadia will also have to pay Williams a legal bill totaling $224,000. So not only he did not pay his legal bills, he hasn't probably paid her legal bills, which makes me wonder, will her attorneys put a lien on the home? Probably not. But still, so this craziness that's going on with her divorce really isn't over. But are we completely surprised? Not at all. Hence why, remember, this tax lien was filed in June 10th, before they finalized their divorce on June 11th. And she put her Duluth home on the market a month ago. So it makes sense why she's probably like, Mom, we need to consolidate. Come move in with me. I need to sell that home. I don't know how much equity she has in that home because just because you're selling it for $1.85 million doesn't mean that's how much you're getting. Damn, this is a mess, Portia. Just when I thought you won, but you ain't going to win when you play dirty. No, you were trying to scam this man. He tried to scam you. Now the scammers are like you turn the lights on and all the roaches are running away. Lord, I wish I could say I feel sorry for anyone in this situation, but I don't. You all created this. You all were trying to look out for self, gain money off of not being honest. Hope you learned something from this. Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this new update. Do you agree with me that this was Simon's plan all along? And maybe there might be more tax liens coming Portia's way. So I have an update. When it comes to what's been going on with Portia Peach Juice Williams, no longer Gobadia. OMG. So it looks like a couple of things. So since I did this particular story on Portia's attorney liens that are on, well, not her attorney liens, it's Simon Gobadia's attorney liens on his property that he owns, but she is now residing in it. And literally, I just watched episode 5 of season 6. As you know, we're recapping season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And it's so interesting to me because I guess this is just what producers do. Let's redo everything that we did in season 6 because right after she met with the same attorney in season 6, and she did the same thing in season 16, she went to go look at a property with her mother, Miss Diane and Lauren. They did that in season 6. And I'm watching season 6 and I'm thinking to myself, you're both looking at a property, Portia. You basically said that you probably weren't going to get much of anything in this divorce because I'm sure you had a prenup with Cordell. but you're looking at this big, beautiful condo, penthouse condo, it looks like, in Atlanta. How are you affording this? Because ultimately, by the end of the scene, she's like, I'm just going to stay with my mommy where she takes care of me and treats me like a princess and blah, 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 blah. Because Lauren, the whole idea was Lauren was trying to get her out of her mom's house. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not in a financial place here in season 6, your second season of Real Housewives of Atlanta, to purchase this condo, even rent this condo. So that felt a little performative. But again, we literally probably, for those of us that watched season 16, had the same feeling. Girl, how are you buying this I think it was a $4 million home she went to go look at when you're in the middle of fighting over this $7 million home? And now, based on what we're seeing with Portia selling her Duluth home that her mother was residing in, not sure where her mother's staying now, I'm assuming with her. I almost forgot how much Miss Diane used to baby Portia, to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is why Miss Diane is probably instilled in Portia. You need to find a husband that's going to take care of you like your mama does. That way you don't have to, she doesn't have to do it herself. Well, since we did this video, apparently, and this is according to Michelle A.T. Alien Brown, who did an interview with Simon Gobadi, because you know what we do here, we always cite our sources. According to her, a couple of things, and you can go watch her video on her YouTube channel. A couple of things. First of all, remember in the story, I said that Portia had like over a $200,000 attorney debt. However, the judge decided that Simon should have to pay that. Well, apparently, Portia's attorneys also put an attorney lien on the property, allegedly. I haven't seen the documentation for this. Is according to Michelle A.T. Alien Brown. And she did have the court documents, though, for an update when it comes to, but Simon, we knew this was coming because you saw what happened in the divorce where they upheld the prenuptial agreement. The judge also ordered that he should be paying her $40,000 a month for the next 14 months. He said that she could stay in the home. She could film in the home. I don't know if that was in the prenuptial agreement. I have not seen the prenuptial agreement. And she would be able to stay in the home, but she would either have to refinance or sell the home and give him half of the equity. We don't know how much equity is in this home. Remember, he just bought this home. So who knows how much equity is actually in this home? And I told you in the video, I believe, yes, I told you in the video, talking about when Simon's attorney actually filed the attorney's lien. He filed that the day before they finalized the divorce. And then, word on the street, the attorney, who's also Nigerian, posted on social media the fact that she was in the shade room. Basically said, not you guys have me in the shade room. Because it seems as if, and I think we all knew this, I don't think we all thought that the attorneys were mad at Simon and that they were some sort of contentiousness between Simon and his attorneys. I think this was all a plot and a plan. Simon's like, I'm not there. They probably gave him the idea. Okay, remember, this is not his first rodeo. He's exclaimed that before. I've been down this road before, so he knows what he's doing. Well, the update, according to Michelle A.T. Alien Brown, is the fact that he's appealing this divorce, and she had the court documents. Again, you can watch that on her YouTube channel where she goes through the court documents. You know, I like to give you a full story, and I'm citing my sources as I go. So he's appealing the divorce settlement, but he said that in multiple interviews that he was not going to just sort of take what was decided upon, because he's been saying everything in these interviews that he was blindsided. Sir, you were not blindsided. But you know what, Portia? This is what you chose. This is what you wanted. And here you are. The scammer is scamming you. This is what you thought you out-scammed him, but now he's scamming you. It will be interesting. I'll tell you this, guys. I know this is part of my job of covering these stories and these hot topics and things like that. But I'm sort of like, this is just so low vibrational. This is so just like, you guys, y'all just can't be done with each other. And I know when you get into these relationships and divorces, things get messy. First of all, you and Simon were not even together that long. But I know what Portia did. based off of watching season 6, Portia was like, I'm not going to end up like I did in season 6. I'm going to make sure I get a monthly allowance. I'm going to make sure that in the prenup I get a place to stay. She learned from that divorce. So she wants to make sure in this one that she wouldn't be in the same position. But again, I think intentions are so important. If your intentions are impure, if you have negative intentions, it's going to reap a negative outcome. And that's exactly what happened to Portia in regards to what's been going on with Simon. So that's the update in regards to the video that we did this week talking about the attorney's lien. I wanted to correct, I was calling it a tax lien because that's what I'm used to talking about, tax liens, but it was an attorney's lien, money owed to Simon's attorney, and apparently also that $200-something thousand attorney's debt that he is supposed to pay on behalf of Portia's attorneys. Apparently allegedly, I'll say, because I don't know that for a fact, I haven't seen it myself, the Portia's attorneys had filed for an attorney's lien on the property as well. This is in my mind, I'm wondering, I don't know what Portia has to pay in regards to maintaining that $7 million home. And that might be part of the reason why she decided to sell the Duluth home. That was, I'm assuming it was still in her name. She just had her mother there. But now she's selling that Duluth home for $1.8-something million. I think it's $1.85 million. So maybe she wants to sell that so that she can pay for the things that she needs to pay for on this home. Lord, this is going, I mean, they're supposed to start filming this month in Atlanta for Real Housewives of Atlanta. Honestly, I really don't care. I hate the fact that we're going to have to follow more of this Simon stupidity and Portia's stupidity for another season. Because what exactly she's going to be able to tell us? It's probably just going to be Portia crying, talking about he's still dragging me on the internet and on social media, and I won the home, but now he's appealing, and I don't even care that much about this as a storyline. I don't want to hear Simon's lack of a bass voice in another interview talking about how he was blindsided and trying to act like he's so damn innocent. None of the parties in this situation are innocent. Fallon's not innocent. Jalen's not innocent. Portia's not innocent. The only innocent people in this situation are the children. Simon's children, Portia's daughter, Fallon's kid. Those are the innocent people here. These adults that are 40 plus are not innocent. But that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. According to TMZ and their exclusive, Kirk and Rasheeda Frost's son is the number one suspect in the T. Hood investigation. This comes after T. Hood's girlfriend, who's Kirk Frost's daughter, denied allegations that her brother had anything to do with this. So this story has taken so many twists and turns since over the weekend, but now TMZ is confirming that police's number one suspect is actually Kirk and Rasheeda Frost's son, who allegedly people have said were hiding their son. So according to TMZ, they said a huge update in the T. Hood murder case in Georgia. Cops have identified their top suspect, and he is the son of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta stars Kirk and Rasheeda Frost. TMZ obtained the incident report from the rapper's slaying, and the Gwinnett County Police Department says that their primary suspect is Kai Rasheed Frost. T. Hood's mom also told TMZ the alleged person is the son of Kirk and Rasheeda. They said, as we reported, T. Hood was shot at his Georgia home Friday, and he later died. It has since been revealed that T. Hood was dating Kirk and Rasheeda's daughter, and now cops say the rapper was unalived in a, quote, domestic dispute. They fingered Kirk and Rasheeda's son as their suspect. So according to our friends over at the Neighborhood Talk, they've been following this story since it broke over the weekend, because there was actual footage that the family posted on social media, a phone call that they had with Kirk Frost's daughter.
Little shit with the big iron, they came and he was taking it to handcuffs. I told you that on the phone.
So according to this post, they posted this on social media, tagging Kay, Kirk's daughter, on social media, Frosted K, admitting her brother unalived Tevin Hood, and he's literally in hiding. This is what they're accusing Kay of.
I don't condone that shit. I don't give a fuck brother or not. Like, I hear what y'all are saying, but y'all, like, you can't, like, I don't condone.
So you hear what she's saying, that she doesn't condone that ish, brother or not.
condone that shit. It's more to the story, so
This is another video that they posted.
I don't.
Well, I don't understand how they would let him out if you told them that your brother shot Tevin. They wouldn't. They supposed to have him. Okay, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna find out.
So yeah, please do it. Like I'm asking the same questions. What I'm saying is like.
Okay, when can we get his things, Kay?
I don't know. They maybe have the wrong information. They tried to find him. They sent the little SWAT team with the little shit with the big iron. They came and he was taken into handcuffs. I told you that was wrong. I don't condone that shit. I don't give a fuck whether or not.
So in another post, the family said this: Frosted K set my brother up. She had her brother pow him and say that she didn't know he shot my brother 5 times in the back and stomach. The post continues. They said that they cleaned it up and hid the brother so the police wouldn't find the weapon or him. And they put in quotes, her 2 brothers. One left the scene, but the one that lives on the property is hiding. So in another post, the family write this: if someone is so-called beating you up in your house, why not call 911 to remove the person from the home? And he lived there as well. And Kai Frost lives there as well, which is the brother. Why wait on someone to be pow, then call 911? So this is what, for those that are trying to understand what's happening here, so they're alleging that Kay's brothers got involved in a domestic dispute between her and the now unalived T. Hood. They continue in their post. They said, and again, your brother already lived there in the house. Why wait on your older brother to come then pow him together when 911 could have called from 3 p.m. You wait 3 to 4 more hours, then call 911, and you didn't even call 911. You had us call 911. She then says in another post, they say, please shut the F up and stop eating D on this app. If this was self-defense situation, why would the brother leave the house before the police arrive? And there's no weapons, just a shot person. That was already dead at the scene. You took time to clean up, not call 911 because the 911 call came from Lithonia. Then you called after police were already en route. Why run if it was SD? The family responded here because Frosted K, Kirk's daughter, took to social media over the weekend because she was hearing all the rumors that people were speculating online about her brother's involvement. So she says this. She says, first off, I've been advised not to speak by plenty of parties, hopefully an attorney. She says, I can't sit back and let this narrative being created go on. The love of my life is gone. The man I lay with and cuddle every single night is no longer here. So as I want to ask for respect and privacy, I won't because I will always defend my baby. I don't condone this ish in any shape, form, or fashion. I'm sick to my stomach. I don't wish this on anyone. My brain is all over the place. This is a total nightmare, but I'm gonna get this off. I don't even have time to grieve or say my respects in the right manner because I'm defending myself, being attacked by people who are creating weird and sick rumors. I'm not good at talking, but I would love to give insight and let the people who love him in to get understanding. I don't have the right words, but I want to keep typing while also respecting his family and loved ones. She says, so please stop listening to people who weren't there. Listening to all these rumors and conspiracy theories will get nobody anywhere, but just following a false narrative. I hate I have to even post this, but I won't let y'all bully me and put the blame on me, making it seem like we weren't one. I ain't ever fathomed no ish like this. I love my man with my entire heart. Sending me threats, I'm grieving too. I am hurting too. I didn't harm anyone or ask anyone to harm him. I didn't call for anyone to come help me. I didn't ask for this. I would never. My baby was still healing from being pow 3 times. We handled our business in private. I am livid also. I didn't call my family for help. For one, I'm the only girl, and I know we would be right back together that same night. If anything, I don't involve my folks in our business. I didn't call a brother. I didn't call anyone but his mother. That's my baby, and I don't care who was involved. I don't condone this. I am not okay. So that was Kirk's daughter responding to all the conspiracy theories at the time. But now TMZ is confirming that her brother, Kai Frost, is their number 1 suspect. So there is an update. There are a couple of updates. I'm not going to go into all of the videos that have been posted because T. Hood's family, Tevin Hood's family, have been posting things. I'm sure the police that are investigating this, the detectives that are investigating this, are going to have a field day with the amount of information that's being shared on social media on both sides. Because footage dropped this week in regards to T. Hood physically assaulting Kirk Frost's daughter, Kay. You literally see the footage of him doing it. So a lot of people on social media have been saying, well, see, this is exactly why her little brother decided to come to her defense. Because now, and people have been saying that this is Rasheeda and Kirk putting out the narrative that it's now being investigated that their son actually did this in self-defense, that he took T. Hood's life in self-defense. I don't even, based on right now, I have not seen a mugshot that Kirk and Rasheeda's son have been arrested. So that's a very interesting thing to keep in mind when we're hearing, first of all, that he's the number one suspect, but they're saying that this was done in self-defense. Well, since that came out, as I said to you before, video footage of T. Hood physically assaulting Kirk's daughter, Kay, has been shared on social media. After that, T. Hood's sister posted on social media an argument that T. Hood and Kayla had been having. However, it's just an argument. It's not her physically assaulting him. It's just an argument. And if you listen to it, you're sort of like, well, this doesn't make him look good. It doesn't necessarily make her look the best, but are we trying to say that he was right for hitting her? So, and if you saw some of the text messages that have also been shared on social media, and we already know when it comes to families and mothers that make excuses for their toxic sons, the Diddy and Janice Combs of it all. So I don't know what happened in that situation. What I do find to be interesting, especially when we were just talking last week about Rasheeda versus K. Michelle, and the issue between K. Michelle and Rasheeda is the fact that Rasheeda downplayed K. Michelle's domestic. Matter of fact, she didn't just downplay it. She basically denied that it even happened. Mind you, she was never there. She wasn't in it. So how would you know? So that's part of the reason why K. Michelle never sees it for Rasheeda. So it's interesting that Rasheeda's stepdaughter is in a situation like this. I don't know Rasheeda's stance on what happened in that relationship. However, these are the situations, these domestic violence situations end up turning into what they turn into because of people making excuses for the perpetrator, people denying the victim. Just please pay attention to that. Now it's escalated to someone that's been unalived as opposed to taking that victim out of the situation. However, even some of the footage or some of the things that Kay has been saying on social media, she seemed like she still was very much in love with him, that she didn't want to get her family involved. This is what she was saying, and this was shared by T. Hood's sisters on social media, that she was going to go right back to him. Am I surprised at that? No. We've been talking about the cycles of abuse so much lately, especially with the Diddy of it all, with people that didn't understand why would these people, they're grown adults, why would they go back? You have to understand cycles of abuse. The internet is your friend. You can find out and learn. You can even watch YouTube videos on the cycles of abuse and why victims stay. And when I say victims, I'm not just talking about women, men too, that are in cycles of abuse. We haven't had a chance this week to talk about Sha'Carri Richardson and what's been happening there. She was charged for domestic violence at the airport. Video footage of her assaulting her boyfriend. Her boyfriend has come out and he's downplaying it. She came out and did an apology video. She didn't, some people speculate that she didn't seem like she was sincere. She was almost like smirking in the video. If anything, I hope that she learns from this, because a situation like this, if you do not get the help that you need and this continues to escalate, we're going to see something, if not what we're seeing with the Rasheeda and Kirk children of it all, or someone just dying. And I don't think people understand, and I always tell you guys to watch Worst Ex Ever, that docuseries they talk about domestic violence. It's really talking about these exes, but for me what stood out is the cycle of abuse. and how our domestic violence laws in this country are the reason why we end up with people that end up being unalived, because you keep letting these abusers out. You do not take these charges seriously enough. So that is the update that we have on the Rasheeda and Kirk's kids and what's going on with that. At this particular point, I have not seen anything. I apologize. I didn't go to look at this particular point in recording this, whether or not Kirk and Rasheeda's son has been officially charged. The last I heard is that the word on the street that's being pushed out to the media is that they're considering this self-defense. I haven't heard that he's been arrested, but if there's an update, I will keep you guys updated. So it was just this week, we recapped 2 new episodes of The Real Housewives of Miami. And maybe these episodes is what triggered Todd Napola. He's made some comments during the season. As you know, Alexia's storyline is the fact that he filed for divorce, he blindsided her. However, she was still sleeping with him, still hanging out with him, still had hope. Basically, in this week's episode, it seems as if they're still on their way. Todd, in this latest video, basically says the only reason why he kept quiet this long was because he was promised that they were going to correct the wrongs, he claims, during the season, only for him to watch it not be corrected. But what really triggered him was the fact that Peter, Alexia's son, was also dogging him out. So let's get into what Todd had to say on Instagram. Todd, in the caption before we get to the video, says, "Dear RHOM producers, I tried to stay silent, and he says, I truly did. I believe that by stepping back, I was taking the high road, letting you tell your story, even when it was wildly false and deeply manipulated. But enough is enough." He says, "Your lies, bullying, and behind-the-scenes extortion tactics have gone too far. For years, I allowed you to paint a fictional version of me because I loved my wife and I didn't want to get involved in your circus. I thought staying quiet would protect my peace, but you've crossed a line." He says, "Call me names, twist the truth, suggest whatever you want about my character. But the second you dare to portray me as someone who doesn't care about my stepson, a young man living with a brain injury, you revealed who you really are." He says, "This season, it's obvious your entire storyline revolves around attacking me and one woman, a cancer survivor, no less, Gertie." He says, "You've allowed gang-style pile-ons, physical violence, gaslighting, microaggressions, and racially charged comments to go unchecked. You've enabled cruelty, encouraged hate, and turned mean-spiritedness into entertainment. Hence why a lot of you said that you stopped watching this season after the Julia splashing Gertie with water in the earlier episodes." Todd continues and he says, "You've enabled cruelty, encouraged hate, and turned mean-spiritedness into entertainment. This is what you promote. This is your brand." He says, "And if this is what you proudly do for a living, I hope your families are proud." Now, oh, damn. He says, "But here's the truth you can't edit out. RHOM has the lowest ratings of any Housewives franchise ever." Oh, he's keeping his ear to the streets. He says, "I now understand that if I don't stand up for myself, you'll never stop. You'll keep running with these lies for as long as you have a platform. While I hoped this would fade and I could quietly return to my private life, it's clear I have to end this story myself. So let me be clear, I will not only challenge these lies, I guarantee I will silence them once and for all. Peace emojis." So here's the thing. You guys, when we were recapping Real Housewives of Miami yesterday, were in the comments saying that Todd went on social media and said that it was a lie that Frankie was there when he moved out of the home. So I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, here go Todd again. But I'm glad I actually listened to his video because his video spilled tea. And we're going to listen to all of it because we need to stop and go so that we can weigh in on some of the things. I will give him credit in this caption, him defending Gertie. No one, not even Andy Cohen, Yes, they recently did an op-ed piece where a producer basically said Julia was reprimanded. But so many different times it was brought up on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy Cohen said nothing. Isaac Mizrahi went on there and said he was so glad that moment happened. And instead of correcting him, everyone has just sort of gone on. Gertie did an interview and got emotional, started crying, talking about that because it wasn't funny. I screenshotted you that photo of Gertie sitting there after that, drenched in water, with her just trying to hold it together. That's not entertainment. And this is why after that, a lot of you said, I'm not watching this anymore. Let's get into what Todd said in the video. So that was just the caption. Let's get into what he says in the video because he spills a lot of tea.
The biggest mistake I've made in my adult life was agreeing to participate in The Real Housewives of Miami. Now, I was not one who really wanted to give up my privacy and become a reality star. That was never for me, and I certainly never enjoyed filming, and I'm sure that's obvious to anyone who ever watched the show. But the final straw, the breaking point, came when lies started being told, and Adriana went on TV and started making claims that I was struggling and couldn't pay my rent and I was having financial problems. And it was a real blow to me, and I couldn't believe people would make these kind of lies up. And I was very mad at her for lying on TV, and she knew it was a lie. And I was mad at Alexia for getting me involved in this mess. But I was the most mad at the producers who knew the story wasn't true. And they didn't just run it, they ran it and reran it and reran it with no regard for me or my feelings or the truth. And in fact, I was the one telling them after the story came out, and I knew that they filmed it, that I had just bought a $24 million shopping center. What was my financial problem?
I want to pause there because we also have to remember during this season, your own wife went on there and talked about fake apartment, fake car. She was also questioning, I'm surprised you didn't come out then. She was also questioning your finances. I'm not saying that it's true or not true, whatever it may be. But it's important to note that a lot of these stories and rumors, we were just talking about this with Stephanie, a lot of these rumors get put out there and they're never corrected, never really addressed. I'm sure the reality personalities want them to be addressed. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I'm sure they're speaking to production, and production is like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We will correct it. We'll fix it. You just got a bad edit this season. Remember, Jody talked about that too when that whole narrative around the AC and how that was edited. Production said the same thing to him, he said, in his long statement that he put out.
Really didn't care. The show must go on. And they did. The show did go on. And it got to a breaking point where I couldn't take it anymore. And I had to make a very hard decision. I realized I couldn't live in this world anymore. And the woman I loved couldn't live without it. So I had to make a decision to leave. And it was a very...
That stood out to me. The woman I love. Remember, before they got married during the show, but they were together for years before the show. He's basically saying that Alexia chose this show over their marriage. Remember, during the season, Alexia claimed that she was willing to give up the show. He's basically denying that, and I believe her. I believe him. I believe him because you literally see during the season when arguing with Stephanie, Alexia says your relationship can't be that good if you're here, basically on this show. She chose fame and this show over Todd. And I don't know if it's because in her head she was over the relationship. I don't think so, but maybe she's always wanted to be a star.
Tough decision, but it had to be made. I was well aware of the storyline they were creating for Series 7 about the reconciliation, and I agreed that I would go along with that. In return, I was under the impression I was getting some apologies from Adriana, and I was going to be let off the hook, so to speak, and not dragged like past husbands of these kinds of TV shows. So it seemed like a pretty fair deal to me, so I stayed quiet and let it air out. Now, not surprised at all that it didn't play out as I had expected. I see no apologies coming my way. Nobody acknowledging the slander and defamation of character they did to me. I see actually the story getting worse and they're making up stories about how I moved out of the house and left Frankie alone, which none of this is true. It's just for the storyline. And I've stayed quiet. For 18 months, I sat back and stayed quiet out of respect and love to Alexia. But at some point, you're pushing too far. And this is the point. Now, I could understand Alexia bashing me. And I could understand her coworkers doing the same. Even the one I've never met once in my life who seems to be obsessed with me. That's all fine. And I'm not surprised
He's referring to Stephanie because Stephanie's had a lot to say about him on the show. He also questioned her finances in one of those posts a couple of weeks ago.
That the producers are running this because they need a storyline to sell you guys a show. But what did surprise me is that they used Peter to come at me and bash me and say that I don't give a shit about Frankie. Well, now you hit a nerve and now you have my attention and you're going to start getting some responses. That's where you went too far. Now, there is no doubt Alexia is an amazing mother and does everything for Frankie she can. And so does his father, by the way, who never seems to get any credit. This guy works 5 days a week to support himself and spends almost every weekend out with Frankie, taking him out and taking care of him, being a great dad.
And mind you, that's never highlighted on the show. That's never a part of what's been happening. Look, we also know that Frankie's father was out of the picture because he was in jail for a long period of time. But he's right. This is an important detail that we don't know about. We only got a little bit of that, I think, not even last season, the season before, where we see Frankie and was it Frankie that went to the father's house? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Frankie and Peter went to the father's house. So we only got a little bit of that last season.
Deserves recognition. However, beyond those two people, there's nobody on planet Earth that's done 1,000th of what I've done for Frankie in the last 7 years. In 7 years' time of living with Frankie, just about every morning we'd wake up together before everybody else and have a coffee and talk. Every afternoon I come home from work and I spend time with Frankie. I didn't just provide for Frankie financially by putting a roof over his head and putting food on his table and designer clothes on his back. I did do that, but I also did a lot more. And to say I didn't give a shit is ridiculous. Let's talk about it. Took him to the movies, took him to the beach, took him to the jacuzzi, took him to the pool, took him on cruises, took him on vacation for weekend getaways. 2, 3, 4 nights a week, Alexia and I would take him to dinner. We would go out on the weekends and we'd take him with us. I would spend so much time with Frankie. I was very involved with getting Frankie trainers for his health. I was very involved with getting Frankie into the Demoya Foundation. I was involved in getting him all sorts of speech therapists and anything I could do to make this guy's life better.
That's important to know. And I don't want to bash Alexia, but honestly, based on what we saw in that season, that first season when they returned in the reboot, and he was talking about Frankie needs more assistance, Frankie needs to be able to be a little bit more independent. Based on how Alexia has raised Peter and how Peter, we were just talking about this last week during the recap, saying that Peter is not a real man. Peter has not really stepped up to the plate. Peter is not a mature adult at his big age, has not really stepped up, and that's because of Alexia. Alexia was still babying him. The scene that we saw with Peter recently, she was babying. You've been through a lot. He hasn't been through a lot. He beat up an unhoused man. He still has not gotten his life together. He talks about that in this as well. But he was trying. He was definitely trying. Look, we could say what we want about Todd. Todd is not a perfect human being, but I believe him when he says that he was a good stepfather to Frankie. Especially because when did Frankie's biological father come out of prison? That was recent. So he's been in Frankie's life a long time, 7 years.
I was all for it. And that's why it really hurts that someone's going to come at me and say that I didn't give a shit about him, because I'm going to tell you, there's not a person on planet Earth who's done as much for him other than his parents as me. And that's how I love Frankie. And you know what? Because I love Frankie, I'm going to speak up, because Frankie would want me to, because he knows this isn't true. Now, I really have no problem with Peter. In fact, after Alexia and I split up, I reached out to Peter and I told him how bad I felt how things went between us and the pressures that he and I had to deal with. And I told him how bad I felt that I was never able to help him launch a career and get started with a job and get his life on track. And I felt bad for all the pressure the guy had. And I made it very clear, that's my failure more than his. And I told him I would always be there for him, regardless of whether he wanted my help and regardless of my position with his mom. And I always stand by that, and I will always stand by that. But today I feel bad for Peter because the producers used him again. You see, they convinced him to go and tell the story for their ratings, and he knows better than anyone when they got something on you, they put it up against you. Except what Peter probably doesn't know, and why he probably had to do this, is because thanks to me, I'm the one who convinced Alexia to negotiate a deal for Peter and Frankie to get paid. That's why they get paid. And that's why I probably believe Peter had to do it, for the paycheck. So I kind of understand that I'm not mad at him all. And my offer to always be there for him will always stand. Peter shouldn't be calling me out on TV. Peter should be thanking those that are helping take care of Frankie, like me. That's the truth. Even after the divorce, I continued to support Alexia and Frankie, paid the rent. She used my Amex to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars a month. That's what I did. And in fact, the house they live in, where you live as well, Peter, I pay the rent on that house.
Pause. That was T. So that house that she shows that she moved into, Todd is paying for that. And Todd is paying for Peter's lifestyle too. And we know in Miami, it's not cheap to live. So he's paying for that too. I mean, he can't be that broke if he's paying all these different people's rents. Washington, D.C., I will be bringing the Kempire After Dark, the villain era, to your city in less than a week. The countdown has officially begun. I'll be in your city. I don't care what's going on down there. We're going to talk about the hot topics. I have so much tea to spill, especially this exclusive story that I'm telling there first. I haven't told anyone else, but I will be telling you, the audience, directly. All right. And then New York City, you're up right after that. We're going to round out the Kempire After Dark summer tour in New York City on September 12th. Go get your tickets today. That show, all the shows have meet and greets, but that show has a live stream option. So no matter where you are in the world, you will be able to be a part of the Kempire After Dark live experience in New York City. Go get your tickets today, but you have to get your tickets before September 12th. And you'll have that live stream for a week. Buy your tickets today. More information on that will be available in the description. I'll see you guys soon.
Even after the show came out and I was so hurt and I couldn't believe this was going to happen to me again, and I saw the first episode, I still continued to pay these bills. That's who I am and that's what I did. And it doesn't seem fair that you're going to come for me now. You should be thanking me instead. With all that said, I still feel bad for him because the producers got the best of him and he knows it and I know it and there's no hard feelings there. But you did change the storyline for me. Now I have to speak up. You see, there's been hundreds of podcasters and news media articles that wanted to write stories and they wanted my side of the story and I stayed quiet. But I can't sit back and let you create this narrative that I just didn't give a shit about Frankie. Not only do I love Frankie, I love myself too, and I'm not going to let you and the producers do this to me. So no hard feelings, but I'm going to have to start talking as well. And even as I sit here today, I'm still heartbroken about the fact that Alexia never told me this was going to happen to me and that she allowed this to happen. And worse yet, she and I actually did reconcile in January of this year after the show filmed, and we were together and doing great for months. And she never said a word about anything coming my way.
That is pretty foul. And this is why I said Alexia has chosen this show over a real relationship. For me, that says a lot about the toxic cycle of being on reality television, being in the Bravo universe. You chose the love of you think I would choose fame and stardom? Because that Bravo check ain't that much, especially if this man is buying $1 million property. You chose that over love, comfortability, and someone that actually embraces your sons and is willing to pay for your grown-ass son that needs to be paying for his own bills, but he wants to also help him and make him an upstanding individual. You chose this Bravo check that's not even stable over that. That already tells me your priorities, Alexia, are screwed up. And no wonder why your son, Peter's, priorities are screwed up. And why you've made the decisions that you've made in your life. That's crazy to me.
Since then, I've never heard an I'm sorry, never got a text, nothing. It's just too bad, so sad. And while I'm never going to try and win over any viewers because I truthfully don't care about that, I do want to tell my side of the story, and I am going to go out there and do it so the viewers know I didn't leave Frankie home alone, and it wasn't this crazy situation where he was so distraught on the couch, and I'm not this horrible person they make me out to be, but at the end of the day, I have to stand up for myself. And what we'll do is I'll tell my side of the story, and Bravo can tell their side of the story, and you, the viewers, will get to judge what you believe and what you don't believe. Like I said, I'm not trying to win anybody over, but I am trying to tell a side of the story. You'll get to be the judge and jury. Now, for the producers, there's a totally different story I have for you guys. These producers, they like to sit in their editing rooms and production rooms and hide behind the cameras, and they'll drag anybody. And all you got to do is look at the past husbands and boyfriends of this show. They have no regard for anyone, as if we don't have families, friends, lives, careers. It just doesn't matter as long as they're making a show. And they hide in private, and they could care less about the truth. They just want to make a show. And if you confront them, they say, you got a bad edit, I'm sorry. Well, that's not going to cut it anymore, because these producers know, the secrets are coming out, that you have people on these shows hiring private investigators to dig up dirt on other castmates to ruin them. They're hiring PR companies and social media bot accounts to hurt people with no regard for them whatsoever. These people.
Pause. So he's confirming what Dr. Nicole was saying about, allegedly, I'll say, Marisol, about hiring the private eye. But she's not the first. He's also talking about these housewives hiring bots and things like that. Don't forget, he's had pillow talk with Alexia, who talks to these other housewives. That should be against the law, first of all. But that should also be against practices over there at Bravo. They have not, all they will do is send out an email and be like, this has to stop, this cannot happen any further. No, you guys need to do more than that. But okay. And I say this is the same company that handled the Brit Edie and the Kenya situation the way that they did.
People have script writers to give them, witty one-liners so they seem so good and they could turn the direction of themselves and make themselves look fantastic.
Look, we've been telling y'all that for a long time, and he's just confirming what we've been saying, that a lot of these housewives that you think are so damn witty, but if you see them on a YouTube channel, they're not so witty. And I'm not talking about Nene, because Nene is witty. I'm not saying that Nene hasn't been given lines over the years too, possibly, but you can see when someone is not so like on top of it. A lot of these housewives are fished some of the confessional stuff that they say.
You know about this, and you guys hide in the private room and you don't get exposed. Well, that's going to change, because all these things you've been doing to the cast, how are you going to like it if I expose you? How are you going to like it if these things are done to you and I draw you out into the public? How is it going to feel when you're getting questioned by the public on the way you behave? Let's see. But the difference is for you guys, and the difference is for people like Adriana, who slandered my name and who made up all these lies and thought it was fun and clever, and the producers who thought they could edit it and rerun it and rerun it and rerun it and keep showing it and keep talking about it and there'd be no consequences. And for the producers who really didn't even have a right to have me on TV for season 6, you're going to have a different crowd that I want to perform for, so to speak. You're going to have a courtroom to perform in, and you're not going to have to convince the public. You're going to have to convince a real judge and a real jury if you had the right to use me on TV and lie about me on TV when you knew it was a lie. Let's see where we go with this, because for all the people you've dragged with no regard for them whatsoever, past and present people on the show, I'm the guy with the reputation. I'm the guy with the resume in life. And I know you've been digging up as much dirt as you can. Doesn't seem like you found so much. But
I'm just going to say this. I understand, Alexia. I understand why you kept on going back. This is BDE energy right here. BDE. Okay, Todd.
I'm also the guy with the resources to take you guys down. So you found this game very clever. You wanted to get the ratings and you wanted to get your season launched. So good for you, you did. Except now I'm going to speak up and I'm going to take your asses to court and we'll find out if you had a legal right to do it. And you know what? You said it. You replayed it. Now you better prove it. And if you can't prove it, you're going to pay me. And I think I'm going to take all that money I'm going to win, and I'm going to win a lot of money. And when I do, I'm going to give it to groups that work with people that are bullied, cyberbullied, bullied in person, attacked online by people like you who hide in these rooms and destroy lives, destroy families. You're not good people. And just face it, I sit here and say that. For the viewers, you could question me, but over the, 15 years of the show, you call it a guilty pleasure to watch it. But would you ever participate in it? Would a sane person ever expose their lives? For what? To go to BravoCon and have people tell you they love you? Bullshit. You wouldn't do it either. And the past performance of the show, look at where these families have wound up in. Tons of divorces, people in jail, miserable lives. I mean, it's just created no happiness and no joy for Earth other than a guilty pleasure. So you could enjoy watching it. But for the participants, I think you got to get your heads checked. And for the producers who produce it and hide in the rooms, I'm coming for you.
He said he is coming for you. I got a little bit of a chill. Well, good for him. Because, look, how many times do we have to have someone say the same thing before we start to believe it? And I know the Bravo universe, when they've heard it from other housewives that are no longer on the show, oh, you knew what you signed up for, blah, 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 blah. This is still a work environment. I've been saying this since the reality TV reckoning. This is still a work environment. Normalizing things like this is not acceptable in a work environment. And you may have just messed with the wrong one, because he's basically saying he's not afraid of discovery. So any questions about his businesses or business dealings or his finances, all of that will come up. And it sounds like he's ready to put his what on the table and prove to you he's got it. And if he's paying for Alexia's lifestyle, because he's talked about that recently, that he's paying thousands and thousands of dollars for her lifestyle, and we've seen the gifts that he's gotten her too when he was on the show, and he's paying for Peter's lifestyle as well. The only money that might be funny is going to be Alexia's once he decides to cut her off, and I'm sure he's probably decided to cut her off now. The only reason why he probably hasn't cut her off is because of Frankie. I have to say, this is probably like my fourth time watching this video. He spilled a lot of tea. I'm just going to sit and wait for the lawsuit to be filed, because it sounds as if he is not playing and he is dead serious. Guys, I want to know your reaction to what Todd had to say in regards to how he's been portrayed on the show. Do you believe him or do you believe Alexia? I believe him. If I'm going to be honest with you guys, I believe him. It makes complete sense to me. We've seen what Alexia has said and done during the season. A lot of her moments crying about Todd, a lot of you said has felt fake and forced. Now we're understanding that it was fake, that she has chosen, bravo, this job that doesn't even pay a lot. That's not even a guarantee. She's chosen this over love and security. She's chosen that for this bravo check, which goes back to the narcissist party that they had this season and her saying, I am too much of an empath to be a narcissist. No, homegirl, you are a narcissist. You are the one that wants to be the star. You told on yourself a long time ago. And the reason why you and Marisol are close friends is because Marisol will do anything and anything for that mojito as well. And now that he's probably going to cut you off, you're going to do anything and everything in order to stay on this show. Because now you've decided this check and this show is more important than someone that you actually loved. You can't be a Taurus because we don't move like that. Oh, but he is a Scorpio and he gonna get you. You done pissed off a Scorpio and he is going to get you. Sometimes I wonder, like, are you really a Taurus? Her and Teresa. We can't be that dumb when it comes to love, especially when someone that actually might be good for you. And it looks like he's owning up to whatever went wrong in their relationship, but it sounds like what went wrong in their relationship was the show. Because that's when this relationship broke up. They were together for years before coming on the show and then getting married. I really thought what broke down their relationship was the fact that they got married. You know, sometimes when people get married, sometimes expectations, things change. But it sounds like it was more so Alexia choosing the show over everything, including her relationship with Todd. Guys, let's continue this conversation in the comment section. I want to know your thoughts on what Todd Napola had to say about the Real Housewives of Miami, behind the scenes, production, threatening a lawsuit, and more. So before we get to your Wendy Williams update, Dee, one of my favorite characters from the hit series What's Happening, has passed away at the age of 60 years old. According to TMZ, Danielle Spencer, famous for playing Dee Thomas on the hit 70s sitcom What's Happening, has died at 60 following complications from cancer, TMZ has learned. Her longtime friend and former co-star, Haywood Nelson, a.k.a. Dwayne, from the sitcom, tells TMZ Danielle passed away Monday night in Richmond, Virginia, hospital with her mom, Cheryl, and her jazz musician brother, Jeremy Helt, by her side. Haywood says that he was in Dallas when he got the heartbreaking call, telling us that he always saw Danielle as his little sis. The two last spoke just 2 weeks ago on the phone, and he says that she sounded upbeat at the time. Haywood adds that Danielle had previously been in a car accident and was in a wheelchair. He honored Danielle on IG Tuesday, saying that her battle had taken a heavy toll, but she's finally found her release from the clutches of this world and a body. What's Happening ran on ABC from 1976 to 1979. Mind you, as a kid watching this show, I thought it was just a regular show. There's a lot of shows that I watched as a kid that I did not realize were just reruns of older shows. What's Happening ran from 1976 to 1979, with Danielle reprising her iconic role in the 80s spinoff What's Happening Now, before leaving Hollywood in the 90s to become a veterinarian. She was 60 years old. May she rest in peace. She will always, I can hear her voice literally in my head. But as you know, anytime we report on the passing of celebrities or anyone, to me, it's always a reminder to the living to live more fully. Let me give you an update. Speaking of living more fully, that's exactly what we want for Wendy Williams. It's been a while since we talked about Wendy Williams, but I have been following the case, and I have been reminding you guys to continue to push against this guardianship and continue to use the hashtag #FreeWendy. Because all of what you guys have done so far has allowed Wendy to see her friends and family, to go out more, which is better for her mental and physical health. So there's been some information that Wendy Williams' official account posted just a week ago, video footage of the court-appointed attorney, an interaction between Little Kev and this court-appointed attorney that was a little troublesome. So let's get into that first before we get into what these court documents are saying.
Ms. Hunter, how is it negotiating these stairs?
I do it very carefully, looking at it, and if and it hasn't happened thus yet, but maybe in 10 years, if it's too much to do it, I can go upstairs and exit that way, come back down. And
in the elevator.
Okay, got it,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago this video is. The caption context: orange sweater, Judge Lisa Skokoloff, appointed attorney Linda Redlinsky, blazer and book bag, attorney Philip Solomon acting as the judge, Lisa Skokoloff's appointed evaluator. We have been quiet behind the scenes, but thanks to you and 866 Truth 84, we have been working diligently towards Wendy's freedom. How you doing? We have received and verified a video that blows this conspiracy wide open. You're about to watch a video that directly contradicts two sworn testimonies by those involved in the conspiracy, recounting the events that occurred in this video. The truth will always prevail. Make sure to comment below. Again, I don't know how long ago this video is, but what I can say, she doesn't seem or look or sound like someone battling dementia.
And this just sits here. It's nothing that I use.
Yeah, she used to, but we don't use this no more. This is her own wheelchair.
Was that physical therapy?
Wheelchair? No, so when she, she used to use it prior to working out. That's actually originally why she started working out, because she had trouble walking around because of her ankles.
Yeah.
Getting used to this and how numb it is.
But she's been working out, and she hasn't had to use a wheelchair since.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. That is good.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's fine. So I just have a couple of questions for you about...
Questions?
And this also goes back, because I remember it was a couple of years ago where Little Kev came out and said that when his mother was with him and he was controlling her diet, he was getting her working out, she was doing a lot better than she was on her own or in this conservatorship.
About questions regarding what?
Just about the guardianship.
The guardianship? Well, I thought this was just going to be a regular visit. And she thought that too. Like, we thought...
Yeah, I thought it was just supposed to be...
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
just looking.
Right, and also just because when we met when she and I met last time, we said that we would continue the interview in New York.
I know, but she didn't know that she needed an attorney present, and she was briefed. I know, but then she spoke to you over the phone, Linda.
I know.
And she told you she didn't want you as an attorney.
So I can't talk to you. I can only talk to your mom. So, but I can't
come
privacy.
Mom, do you want to speak by yourself?
I want to sit down. My feet.
Okay, one little thing. Okay, so it's not about. It's the only thing is that it's because of her privacy rights.
I know, and she just told Linda that she didn't feel comfortable.
Is your mom okay with you being here when she talks to her?
Yes.
Okay.
It breaks the attorney-client.
It does. Okay. It does. But you tell her that it breaks the attorney-client privilege, and then if she's okay with it, she's waiving it to you, so that's fine. Yeah. I think that's okay.
Do you guys hear what the evaluator is saying? So that's the evaluator speaking, and and this is important to note because Lil Kev is not saying anything wrong. He's speaking for his mother. His mother, Wendy Williams, is saying she's okay with having the conversation with her son present. I can understand wanting to protect Wendy's rights to attorney-client privilege. However, she just waived that, and the evaluator is pointing that out to her, and that's important to note when you see what happens next.
So you understand? It's just she cannot communicate with your mom.
And mom, also, didn't you say that you didn't want Linda as attorney? So why do you even want to?
Wait.
I don't know.
Hang on. She can say that.
No, but I'm speaking.
I
to
never
my
saw
mom.
you in person, so I didn't recognize you.
I'm asking her a question.
I didn't. Okay, this is you.
Yeah, like,
I thought that you weren't here.
I just want to let you know, you do remember you do have your own attorney.
Okay,
so
we do. Let's go to the door, please.
Yeah, so you don't have to all this. I get you want to do your job, the court appointed.
Thank you.
We respect y'all coming to the house. I apologize for what happened yesterday, but she has her own attorney. This is her. This is not me.
Okay, so Wendy, I just want to tell you. So again,
all right, Mom.
When the court's going to have what's called a hearing. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna.
Okay.
You can keep walking.
No, keep walking. No, it's fine. It's fine. And she has her attorney. You can call her attorney and let her know. It's
so
fine.
are you?
She hasn't put in her appearance yet. She hasn't put in her appearance.
All right, listen, I'm not gonna.
She's gonna put in her appearance tomorrow.
You're kicking me out.
I'm not kicking you out. But no,
sir.
Ma'am.
Keep in mind, it wasn't little Kev asking this attorney, who is actually escalating the situation when she should be de-escalating the situation. He never asked her to leave. Wendy asked them to leave.
I'm not kicking you out.
Yeah.
I said you guys agreed to come here to look at the apartment. I was fine with that. You asked to ask her questions. I said.
But you don't need to be okay with any of it.
What do you mean? It's our apartment, but it's our apartment.
Sir, I have a job to do.
I know, and she
you're
just said
interfering with it.
But she gave you an answer.
But you're talking in her
But there's one
ear.
thing about my mom. She works too hard to have to tell people
I see him right there.
I know it.
the same answer over and
No,
over.
good night.
So,
Good night.
So have a
Thank
good
you.
night, and it was nice to see you. And
That's what me saying.
please stay well.
You too.
We should speak so well, not me.
Not you. Wow.
Not me.
Close the door.
All right, I'm gonna remember that, Linda. Thank you.
Kevin, stop it.
All right.
And Phil, listen.
Look, I'm just trying to.
No, Phil. I
want you to
know. Listen.
understand.
I know, Phil.
All right. So get your mom's attorney to put in a notice of appearance
I know.
ASAP.
I know.
Okay. Right away.
I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Washington, D.C., you're up next. Next week, I will be in your city with everything that's going on. I'm still coming through, and you should too. If you want a night to forget all your problems, to forget what's happening in the world, and have a fun time with people that are just like you. So don't be scared to come solo. So many people came to our Atlanta show solo, and we had a good old time. If you've been to a show before, you already know what kind of time it's going to be. However, if you think it's going to be exactly what we did last time, of course not. We have all new hot topics to talk about and an exclusive story that I can't wait to tell you about. I will be dropping that tea at the Washington, D.C. show on August 22nd at the Pearl Street, D.C. If you haven't gotten your tickets already, you should. Meet and greets are available for that show. And then we're rounding out the summer tour of the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era, in New York City on September 12th. That also has a meet and greet as well. But that show has a live stream option. So if you haven't been able to experience the Kempire After Dark live experience, you'll be able to experience it virtually. Around the world has access. So get your tickets today for that. All ticket information will be available in the description. So you see even Wendy's reaction. She's like, wow, like, how do you say that? And I don't see anything wrong. Because remember, they're also wearing masks. So Wendy did not realize that this was the attorney that she didn't want. So her son is stepping in because he's recognizing like, oh, this is the attorney that you said that you want. You have your own attorney. I don't see anything wrong with what Lil Kev was doing. He wasn't being aggressive. He wasn't being rude. If anything, she was more rude to him, saying, I wish you well, but not you. You are a court-appointed attorney. You are here in a professional capacity, and you're being unprofessional. Thankfully, Lil Kev knew to record this situation because it would just be based off of their opinions versus his. So that story happened a week ago, and I wanted to include that in this update because I've been giving you updates on this Wendy Williams situation for years at this particular point. However, shout out to our friends over at the Wendy Archive. Shout out to the Wendy fans that continuously are reminding us of how great Wendy is, but also keeping us abreast of what's going on legally. Because there are a lot of things that are going on legally that we are just not aware of unless it becomes public. So the Wendy Archive posted on their socials saying that this is new. Court docs obtained by TWA reveal Wendy Williams recently had extensive medical and neuro tests. We expected that this was going to happen, including brain scans. Evaluation done, but her guardian won't release the results, citing fears of losing control. What is she hiding? So let me read to you the actual court documents. And this is to the Honorable Ronnie Abrams, U.S. District Judge in the Southern District of New York. Sound familiar? We were just covering the Diddy trial, Southern District of New York. So this is regarding Morrissey versus A&E television networks. Don't forget, Sabrina Morrissey, the guardian in this case, is suing A&E networks for the documentary, the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. So they said this: Dear Judge Abrams, we write on behalf of plaintiff Sabrina E. Morrissey in her capacity as a court-appointed guardian to WWH. That's Wendy Williams Hunter. Keep in mind, all of this legal work that's being done on behalf of Wendy Williams is paying for this. This is what they talk about with the abuses, the alleged abuses of guardianship, because there's all this legal activity. And you already know, I worked for a law firm for 15 years. There's all kinds of hours that are being spent, but also charged for this type of work, even if it's just a letter being sent to the judge. So they said, we write on behalf of plaintiff Sabrina E. Morrissey in her capacity as court-appointed guardian to WWH, the guardian, pursuant to the court's order dated June 5th, 2025, directing the parties to, quote, file a joint letter updating the court as to the status of the medical evaluation and proposing next steps in this action if necessary by August 5th, 2025. The medical evaluation of WWH has now been completed. After conducting a significant number of tests, both medical and neuropsychological, and scans including brain imaging, the medical specialists have informed an opinion concerning WWH's current neurological condition and diagnosis, including whether she has the ability to make decisions about the above referenced litigation arising out of the so-called documentary, Where is Wendy Williams?, which aired on February 24th and 25th of 2024. In the weeks since Your Honor's issuance of the June 5th order, however, further complications have arisen. These complications result from the fact that various parties, including counsel for certain members of WWH's family, WWH's ex-husband, and others, have indicated their intention to challenge both the guardianship itself as well as Ms. Morrissey's status as guardian. To that end, the guardianship court appointed WWH with new independent counsel to address these issues on WWH's behalf. See letter Williams Hunter versus Morrissey, and then they cite the case, which is Southern District of New York, on July 17th of 2025, a day before her birthday. Although we would prefer there not to be further delay, we do believe that it would be efficient and most best preserve both the courts and the parties' resources to refrain from proceeding with discovery in this lawsuit until the guardianship court has made a final determination with respect to these issues, presumably based at least in part on the result of the medical evaluations that have now been completed. Accordingly, because of the ongoing disputes regarding the guardian's role and authority, we respectfully request that the courts extend the stay for the later of 3 months from August 5th or November 5th, 2025, or until such time as the guardianship court has made a determination as to the status of the guardianship and the guardian. We have conferred with counsel for defendants and their position is set forth below. The defendant's position: defendants remain concerned by the risk of prejudice from this delay due to WWH's purported progressive neurological disease, as alleged in plaintiff's complaint. Therefore, defendants would not have any objection to this proposed additional stay of the litigation if plaintiff's counsel would work with the defendants to set an early deposition of WWH. Plaintiff does not consent to this request for an early deposition. We appreciate your Honor's consideration, are available to address any questions that the court might have. Then it says, it CCs the counsel of record, and it says no later than August 13th, a plaintiff shall submit a letter stating whether she objects to an early deposition of WWH, and if so, whether she objects on any basis other than efficiency and what would best preserve both the court and the parties' resources. And this is signed by Ronnie Abrams, the judge over this. Because we are not attorneys and because I wanted to have a better understanding, I put this into ChatGPT just to have a better understanding of what this letter is saying, to break down in layman's terms. I just want to break this down for us so that we have a better understanding. So they said this is part of an ongoing federal lawsuit connected to the documentary Where is Wendy Williams? We know this. Sabrina Morrissey is Wendy's court-appointed guardian in legal matters. The court has previously ordered both sides to update the judge on, one, the results of Wendy's medical evaluation, which at this particular point, we still have no idea what this new evaluation has said. And it also says what should happen next in the case. So the medical evaluation has been complete. Wendy has undergone extensive medical and brain tests. Doctors have given an opinion about her current neurological condition, including whether she can make her own legal decisions related to the lawsuit. The guardianship dispute, though, since the last court order in June, things got more complicated. Wendy's family members, including her ex-husband and others, are challenging the guardianship itself. We reported on that lawsuit here on the channel. They're also challenging Sabrina Morrissey's role as the guardian. The guardianship court has now appointed Wendy her own independent lawyer to look at these issues. I'm assuming it's not the same attorney that we saw in the video earlier. It says why they want to delay the case. So that's the most important detail I want to understand. Because the guardianship status and who acts as her legal guardian is still being fought over, Morrissey's side is asking the federal judge to pause this lawsuit for up to 3 or more months, or until the guardianship dispute is resolved. Their reasoning, it's more efficient to wait for the guardianship ruling before doing more legal work in this lawsuit. This avoids wasting court time and money if Wendy's representation changes. Which could, if they decide to end the guardianship, then Wendy could have her own attorney handle this and not Sabrina Morrissey and her attorneys. They continue, they said the defendant's position, which we read, the defendants, A&E and others, say that they are worried about delaying the case too long because Wendy allegedly has a progressive neurological disease. But we don't know what the updated medical evaluation is saying. They're okay with pausing the case if they can take an early deposition of Wendy now before her condition potentially worsens. But if you've seen Wendy Williams via paparazzi, her condition doesn't seem to be worsening, which makes people believe that the diagnosis that they released publicly is not her diagnosis of dementia. Mind you, it's the same diagnosis that Bruce Willis has, and Bruce Willis's family has taken him from the public eye because of this condition usually worsens. They said the judge is not making a final decision yet. She's giving Morrissey, Wendy's guardian, until August 13, 2025 to explain whether she objects to an early deposition. If she objects, she must give reasons beyond just efficiency or saving resources. Bottom line, they said that her guardianship status is under legal challenge, which could change who represents her in this lawsuit, or if she even wants to pursue this lawsuit. The federal case over the documentary might be paused until that's sorted out. The other side wants to question her now due to concerns about her health, but her guardian currently opposes that. The judge will decide next steps after August 13, 2025, which is this week. Again, I brought this up earlier. The fact that Sabrina Morrissey, Wendy Williams' guardian, is suing A&E over this documentary. Mind you, this lawsuit was filed last year. You already know when these lawsuits happen how much those legal bills will rack up. I can't even imagine how much the legal bills for this case, because she's suing on behalf of Wendy Williams. She's not covering this cost. Wendy is covering this cost. And Wendy can't even decide whether or not she even wants to sue A&E over this. So to break this down a little bit more, the guardianship dispute comes first. What will happen? The state guardianship court, separate from the federal case, will decide whether Wendy still needs a guardian. If yes, whether Sabrina Morrissey remains her guardian or someone else takes over. Why this matters? Whoever is legally recognized as Wendy's guardian will control her participation in this lawsuit, including whether she gives a deposition, accepts settlements, or continues the case. Because Wendy, depending on whether or not they decide to keep the guardian, could say, I don't want to sue them. I'm happy with A&E. I want to work with them again. You never know. They said a predicted timeline, a guardianship decision could take a few months or more depending on evidence, witness testimony, and possible appeals. So the federal case likely pause. What will happen? They said the judge in the Where is Wendy Williams lawsuit will probably pause or, quote, stay the case until the guardianship decision is final. Why? It avoids wasting legal work if the person in charge of Wendy's case changes mid-lawsuit. Predicted timeline, federal case may not restart until late 2025 or early 2026. we're almost at the end of the year. Deposition fight could get heated. They said what will happen, the defendants, they want to question Wendy now before her memory or health potentially worsens. Her guardian doesn't want that, possibly to protect Wendy's health, privacy, or legal position. Possible outcomes, the judge allows it, but with restrictions. Example, limited time medical accommodations. Judge denies it until guardianship is resolved, which could weaken defendant's position if Wendy's health declines. And based on what we've seen of Wendy, her health doesn't seem to be declining. If anything, it seems to be improving with her being around her friends and family and being able to go out freely. They said health will play a bigger role. If Wendy's condition is indeed progressive, gets worse over time, defendants might keep pushing for early testimony. But this also would rely on what were the results of these updated medical exams and brain scans. If her condition reaches the point where she can't testify at all, her side could argue parts of the case are harder to prove against her, but that might also make it harder for her to personally fight claims or give her own account. So they said the public and media impact on this. They said the guardianship challenge and health disclosures will likely be public because the dispute itself could involve court filings open to the press. A deposition or court testimony could leak details. Expect more headlines about her mental health and family disputes before the actual lawsuit is resolved. So, according to their overall prediction of what might happen at the end of this case, and I'm giving you a pretty long update because we haven't talked about Wendy Williams in several weeks. They said the short term, the next 3 months, focus will be on the guardianship fight, not the documentary lawsuit, because we haven't even updated you on that in a long time. Medium term, end of 2025, federal case could restart, possibly with a new guardian or legal representative for Wendy. Long-term case outcome will depend heavily on her health, whether she can testify or who controls her legal decisions. But at this particular time, we still have no idea what the results are of those medical evaluations that she had. Again, that's her personal medical information. I don't see that being made public unless they decide to make it public. Like they did very conveniently during last year. That's when Sabrina Mercy released the statement on, well, Wendy was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. So that was very convenient for them to decide to release that to sort of combat the bad press that Sabrina Mercy and the court was receiving. So it looks like the test results are in when it comes to Wendy Williams and her mental capacity, and you're not going to believe the results. Let's get into another update when it comes to the Wendy Williams saga. Washington, D.C., it will almost be a week. It's almost a week before the Kempire After Dark, the villain era, comes back to Washington, D.C. And I know there's a lot of things going on in Washington right now, and some of you might be fearful to come there. No. Do not allow fear to stop you from living your life and having a good time. I'm coming down there. I'm going to have a good time, and we're going to talk about everything and everyone. And I have exclusive information that I want to share with you guys. You're not going to believe this story, but maybe you will believe this story. Make sure you get your tickets so that you are the first to know this exclusive story that I'm going to tell only at the Washington, D.C. show. And then I'll repeat it at the New York City show on September 12th. Get your tickets today for the Washington, D.C. show on August 22nd, or get a live stream ticket for the New York City show. That will have a live stream, only show that will have a live stream, and you can watch it from anywhere in the world, and you'll have it for 1 week, but you have to buy your ticket before the show on September 12th. Ticket information on the Kempire After Dark, The Villain Ever, will be available in the description. Let's have a good time talking about the hot topics, talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and maybe Potomac. And more information will be available in the description. So it was just a couple of days ago that we gave you a Wendy Williams update in regards to what's happening legally. And they did not want to move forward with the A&E lawsuit that Sabrina Mercy, Wendy Williams' guardian, brought against the television network because of the Where is Wendy Williams documentary did not make them or the courts look good. That's important to note. But they did not want to move forward with the A&E lawsuit until they figured out whether or not Sabrina would remain the guardian or whether or not Wendy Williams would remain in a guardianship, because multiple individuals, Wendy Williams' family and her ex-husband, were challenging the guardianship. Well, now, according to TMZ, the health results that we told you probably conveniently would be revealed to the public are now being revealed. So TMZ writes this just a moment ago. They said Wendy Williams took a series of cognitive tests this week, and a new report states that the results back up her original diagnosis. The former talk show host's official test results have not been released, but People magazine reports that Wendy was again diagnosed in frontotemporal dementia and aphasia. She was first diagnosed with both diseases in 2023. But I will say this, I'm not a doctor. However, if you've seen the most recent paparazzi outings with Wendy Williams and her family and friends, she doesn't seem like someone with dementia. Does she seem 100% Wendy Williams that we know from the Wendy Williams show or the radio days? Definitely not. However, dementia is something that progressively gets worse. What we have not seen is Wendy Williams get progressively worse. And this goes for individuals that have actually broken bread with Wendy, that have sat down with Wendy and had conversations with her. Everyone, including Harvey Levin from TMZ, says that she definitely doesn't display someone that has dementia, where you're progressively seeing a decline. So TMZ continues. They said that we told you that the legal filing made by Williams of court-appointed guardian Sabrina E. Morrissey earlier this month, in which her lawyers wrote, medical specialists have formed an opinion concerning Wendy's current neurological condition and diagnosis, including whether she has the ability to make decisions. Morrissey is asking to put a pause on litigation with A&E over the documentary, Where's Wendy Williams? Wendy's attorney, Joe Tacopina, has vowed to hold everyone responsible for the guardianship, and Wendy is still fighting to get out of it, though it's unclear how this reported diagnosis confirmation will affect her fight. Here's the thing. Just because she might have this diagnosis doesn't mean she has to be in a guardianship. She has friends and family, more importantly, family. If you saw the Where's Wendy Williams documentary, her sister said she was more than willing to be Wendy's guardian. She's also an attorney. Okay? They said, by the way, People, citing court documents, say evaluators performed a significant number of tests, both medical and neuropsychological, and scans, including brain imaging. So it seems that they were quite thorough. Wendy was taken from the assisted care facility, which she likened to a luxury prison in the TMZ documentary, TMZ Presents Saving Wendy, in March to take a series of tests, by the way, unclear if these are the same tests People are citing in their report. You remember she ended up going to the emergency room and they did some very basic tests. So I don't know if it was as elaborate. Again, I'm not privy to the actual exams that Wendy went through recently, but the ones that she received in the hospital were very basic. Okay, so they said sources told TMZ at the time that Wendy passed a capacity test with flying colors. They've reached out to Wendy's attorney, Tacopina, for comment. So far, no word back. I want to go back to People magazine because, as I told you before, and this is not a slight at People magazine, I understand these media outlets have relationships with networks, celebrities, and possibly attorneys. It wouldn't shock me that conveniently this information is coming out. This private health information is coming out to the media. Literally, in the video I just did talking about this, I said, don't be surprised that these usually very private information will be revealed to the public so that they can change the public's view on what's happening with Wendy Williams. So I wanted to add some of the details from People magazine's exclusive on this. They said, in the court documents, an attorney for Williams' guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, requests the court extend the guardianship for 3 months with an end date of November 5th. The attorney also notes that complications have arisen due to various parties, including counsel for certain members of Williams' family, Williams' ex-husband, and others have indicated their intention to challenge both the guardianship itself as well as Ms. Morrissey's status as the guardian. They said this update comes 5 months after the former daytime talk show host was removed from her assisted living facility and taken to the hospital by the New York City Police Department on March 10th. The following day, Williams called into Good Day New York, where she claimed that she received mental capacity tests following her 2023 dementia diagnosis and claimed that she was cognitively impaired. She said at the time, I passed with flying colors, she alleged, asking her caretaker, Janalia Monterosa, who accompanied her to the hospital, to, quote, elaborate on everything. She at the time said she had those tests. She's been deemed that she is not incapacitated. Monterosa told the show's anchor, Rosanna Scotto, "I think it's great news and it's public and everyone knows factually that Wendy's not incapacitated." When Scotto asked if Williams was satisfied with the independent examination of her psychological well-being, Williams exclaimed, "Absolutely, this is what I want, and that is what I got." Here's my thing. I will say that Wendy Williams is not the Wendy Williams that we know and love on The Wendy Williams Show, on her radio program. However, that doesn't change the fact that it feels, I'm not saying that it was definite, it feels as if Wendy was not in the best place before people started putting pressure on Sabrina Morrissey, meaning that she was not able to see her family. She wasn't able to call her family on her own. Because of the pressure that the public, the fans, and her friends and lawyers have put on this whole situation, that's part of the reason why we're able to see Wendy hanging out with her niece, going out with friends and family, going out to dinner. She seemed so happy. Her energy was so much better, okay? Just because she might have this diagnosis, again, diagnosis, doctors, we can get to conspiracy theories. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories. You can read between the lines of what I'm saying. But what I'm also saying is that just because she might have this diagnosis doesn't mean that she needs to be in a conservatorship where her family is not the ones that are over it and protecting her. She has a son, she has a sister, she has a father, she has a brother, everyone that can help with Wendy Williams. Wendy does not need to be under Sabrina Morrissey to thrive and be healthy. Especially when we see that Sabrina Morrissey has not done the best job. In my opinion, she hasn't done the best job. Guys, this is breaking news. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this latest health update. Sidebar, I know we talk astrological stuff. Salome Bella did a reading on Wendy. It was her very first reading on Wendy, maybe a few weeks ago. And she actually mentioned that we would get some sort of health update on Wendy come the fall. This is a little bit earlier than the fall, but just wanted to add that. We did an actual members only live where I talk about and play Salome Bella's predictions. So since we did that Wendy Williams story, her attorney came out with a statement to TMZ because, and I said this too, even when we first found out about Wendy Williams' diagnosis, she's in a guardianship. If we're hearing about her diagnosis, the only people that should have access to that is Wendy and her guardian. So this being leaked to People Magazine, do they think that we're dumb? If Wendy wasn't in a guardianship, then I could probably understand it being leaked, family, friends, close resources, workers, things like that. But no, she's in a guardianship where everything is controlled. So this medical history being revealed to People Magazine in exclusive was strategic. So in a statement reposted by Alex C. Finney, Wendy Williams' niece, Joe Tacopina says this in a statement. Regarding the leaked medical diagnosis of Wendy Williams, this is yet another outrageous tactic and a blatant violation of Wendy's fundamental rights as a human being. Let me be clear. The claim is false and is being spread by a party with a vested interest in keeping Wendy trapped under this excessive and restrictive guardianship. The critical questions are these. Where is the actual medical report supporting this leak? And who is the doctor willing to go under oath and face cross-examination by me so the truth can be exposed? So that's what her attorney, the attorney that was not court appointed, but she and the family have retained to fight to get Wendy out of this guardianship. So that is the update that I have in regards to what's been going on with Wendy Williams. The Free Wendy movement must continue because it's because of you guys spreading this information and protesting that has allowed Wendy to be closer to her family, see her family, go out and hang out with her friends and former colleagues and things like that. So the heat is definitely on the conservatorship in this regard. We're going to continue to follow this story. I do believe Wendy will be out of her guardianship. However, I do think that it's going to take some time. And I can't say that will happen in this year. We're almost done with 2025. But hopefully we can't give up. One of the things that stood out to me when covering the story, just on the fan side of things, it's sort of like, damn, Wendy worked her entire life. If you followed her career, you know how much she was so passionate about working in radio, doing the daytime talk show. The fact that she wasn't able to leave the daytime talk show on her own accord, on her own time, and just sort of like go off into the sunset and just retire. And now she's just in this conservative. It's so sad. And this is not what any of us would want at the end of our careers. And a lot of people say, well, her career shouldn't have been over either. Yeah, but she had a lot going on, from addiction to her divorce and probably mental health and things like that as well. Because I'm not one of the people saying that, oh, Wendy can get on a podcast tomorrow and return to being Wendy. I said this before, I'm going to say it again. I'm not going to change. And I don't know what it could be because I'm not a doctor, but Wendy's not who we remember Wendy to be. And I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if it's dementia. I think if it was dementia, that we would see it be progressive, and I have not seen it be progressive. I am going to bring a doctor on the YouTube channel to talk more about some of these medical stories that we've been covering. So stay tuned for that. I will see you guys. Be sure, if you haven't already, you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, to give us a 5-star rating. But also, don't forget, we have Club Kempire, where I talk about a bunch of other things that I don't talk about anywhere else, from White Lotus to Big Brother to The Hunting Wives. I do want to talk about this new movie that I saw this weekend called Weapons. It's a scary movie, and it was so good. Dare I say, okay, it's hard. I don't want to compare, because the last movie I went to go see was Sinners, and that was a scary movie. But this one is scarier and gorier, but it was good. It was good. I'll talk more about it on Club Kempire. There's a free 3-day trial, so make sure you guys check that out. And don't forget to check me out if you're going to be in Washington, D.C. I'm there on Friday, August 22nd at the Pearl Street Warehouse. Go get your tickets for that. Meet and greets are available for that. Then New York City, September 12th. I will be there at the Green Room 42. Meet and greets are available for that. But if you are another part of the world, if you're in Texas and you've been wanting me to come there, in Chicago, you wanted me to come there, California, you wanted me to come, you can be a part of the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era. The final summer tour date will be in New York City, September 12th. Shout out to those of you that are traveling to New York to be a part. But there is a live stream option, so go get your tickets for that if you haven't already. Ticket information will be available in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Weekend Update. This was a big, juicy one, like probably over 2 hours. I love it. I love it. I hope you guys did too. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. As always, you can hear Kempire on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. More information can be found on KempireRadio.com.